All right, what the actual title of this video is? Will Fauci's latest goalpost move? Jesus Christ, I can't even talk. So the title of this video is, will Fauci's latest goalpost move cause even Democrats to abandon him?
On positive COVID stories. So first, one of the places where there has been just the worst sort of draconian lockdowns in the entire world has been in Australia. It's just been absolutely insane in Australia. I mean, police arresting people for walking their dogs, really crazy stuff. But people are stepping up. They're fighting back. They're saying enough's enough.
Enough's enough. Enough's enough. Australia has a really, really strange political climate these days. Very, very strange. And I am not really surprised that anti-vaccine sentiment has risen up so strong. But then again, like when you have these questions of people clashing versus mandates versus the fact that we're still in a global pandemic, it's hard to kind of figure out how many people are legitimately feeling like their freedoms are being infringed upon, impugned upon, other I words, or if it's panic being embraced and manipulated by anti-vaxx media talking points, which are now almost completely indistinguishable from right-wing, unfortunately. People who greatly suffer from that the most are people on the right. It's absolutely true. And for that, sorry, guys. I didn't do it. Blame shitheads like this.
Don't own us just because you're the government. You work for us. That's what we have to remember. Look at these lockdown protests in Perth, Australia. Absolutely extraordinary what you're seeing there. We're just doing a little B-roll here, so I'm going to talk you through it. I mean,
absolutely extraordinary what you're seeing right here. Absolutely extraordinary.
Thousands and thousands of people. Those are not right-wing maniacs. Those are not evil people. Those are people who want to live their lives as free citizens in the Western democracy.
I still get into this fucking problem when I talk to people about mandates. And I have to talk to people about mandates all the time, not just here, but in real life. I am one of those rare YouTubers who does get out. Not a lot. But people are ask like what's the balance between freedom and mandate? And my answer usually comes down to what would make you comfortable? What would be the number that you'd be comfortable of people who die every day from a global pandemic? How many people's lives are you willing to exchange for your ability to have freedom, or whether or not you'd be willing to, for the sake of the safety of others, be willing to adhere to something that might kind of make you a little uncomfortable and it's a bit inconvenient for a while to ensure that people will live? That's what you have to ask yourself. Now, if you choose, to embrace the privilege of being able to do whatever the fuck you want, and you don't care that it hurts people, well, maybe there should be some consequences to it, like, kid can't go to public school or whatever, or maybe there's some businesses that you're not really going to be able to visit. I don't. Is that necessarily like a huge blow against freedom? The way that people always try and justify it is they talk about it that it's a slippery slope. If we give up some of our freedoms now, then they could just never give them back. I disagree with that. I firmly believe that were there to be a case where the global pandemic actually was under control, which it is not, and then they did not want to give us back, lift these mandates, I think that they would have, a nationwide riot on their hands. But that's not what has happened yet. And we see that in lots of these states where they're like, hey, we're doing better. So they lift the mandates because they want to. You know why? Because when there's not any mandates, it's better for the fucking economy. It's better for everybody. Better for corporate interests, better for the politicians, better for everybody. It just makes no sense. Like, you'd have to think that these people are like mustachio twirling fucking supervillains that just, what's the purpose that they want to keep you under the thumb of like an authoritarian and eroding your freedom. What's their agenda? What do they get from it? Does it make their dicks hard or something? Like, I've never had anybody explain it to me how exactly, even if there was like a global demonic evil Illuminati cabal, what they would get out of it. What would they get out of it? Except just to be like a hilarious caricature. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, fuck. Let's keep going.
That is known as Australia. They don't want to live in a giant island prison known as Australia. They want to live in a free Australia. So pretty extraordinary. Now note, you are not going to see that on CNN. You might see a little something about the previous story we just touched on in Wisconsin in Australia because they can't ignore it. But why is it that mainstream media never shows us when thousands and thousands of people in free democracies stand up? Could it be that mainstream media is
I have actually literally seen those protests being on mainstream news networks. I have absolutely seen that. It's one of those things of like, you don't have to go and check. Just trust me.
actually working for the elites and whoever it is that wants to keep you controlled and quiet and scared, and they don't want you to realize that you have far more power than you think. If you just speak up, you might inspire somebody else to speak up, and next thing you know, 3 people are speaking up, and then God forbid you got 4, and yada, yada, yada. Suddenly you're living as a free human being the way God intended. Could that be? Next up, Winsome Sears, who is the incoming
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. I just don't even know what the fuck he's talking about.
Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. She will be the second in command under Glenn Youngkin. She was on Dana Bash's CNN show, and I'm not very impressed with this Dana Bash. And no. Dana Bash.
I'm sure she's going to cry herself to sleep that she didn't meet the approval of Dave fucking Rubin.
I like saying her name like that. Dana Bash asked Winsome Sears what her vaccination status is, and her answer was quite spectacular.
Saying whether you are vaccinated. Do you want to say now?
As I said, America, if it's nothing else, it's about liberty. It's about being able to live your life free from the government telling you what to do. And so we understand this thing about slippery slopes. The minute that I start telling you about my vaccine status, we're going to be down the bottom of the mountain trying to figure out how we got there, because now you want to know what's in my DNA. You're going to want to know this, that, and the other.
That's fucking stupid. Why in the fuck would I want to know about your DNA? Your DNA doesn't affect me. Like, I might want to know if, say, okay, just for argument's sake, say me and this lovely woman are engaged in romantic coupling. We are interested in each other. We've had some drinks. I'm feeling pretty confident, and she seems to be quite receptive. I might want to know if she has any sexually transmitted diseases. Or if she has, say, any health concerns, like a weak hip, that I need to be concerned about before we engage in anything a bit rough. I might be interested in that. Now, if I am not about to enact the nookie, I wouldn't give a shit about those things. Just as right now, I wouldn't give a shit about anything that has to do with her health-wise, because it's none of my fucking business. Unless I'm in her immediate vicinity, she doesn't have a mask on, she kind of has a little bit of a sniffly cold or something, and I'm like, hey, are you vaccinated? Like, that's a fine question to ask. And she can say, fuck off. And I'd be like, okay. Or she could be like, yeah. It's relevant.
In New York, you see, we have people, waiters asking people their vaccination status. And by the way, do you know what else they require? A photo ID to determine if this vaccine card you're presenting is really you.
So what? Maybe it's because they want to protect themselves. If the waiter is like, hey, I've got a vaccine compromise or an immune system compromised child at home, and, you know, my boss is allowing us to do this, and I just want to make sure everybody's going to be safe. You're not going to get me sick, and then that kills my child. Maybe that's what they want to do. Or maybe they just don't want to help spread the pandemic or whatever. If you don't like those rules at that restaurant, don't go to that restaurant.
Who are we fooling? Come on. Let's say you get the vaccine. Go ahead and get the vaccine. If that's what you want to do, get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Don't force it on anybody else. We know. And by the way, media, they're not telling us that people are suffering as a result of getting the vaccine.
Oh.
They have all kinds of problems.
I see. So she's an anti-vaxxer. Okay. Got it. She's just a fucking anti-vaxxer.
I understand it might be the minuscule, but when you're the one out of 30,000 that gets it, it's important to you.
I mean, that's just a great answer right there by Winsome Sears, again, the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. This is a woman who will now be called a white supremacist.
What? Why would anybody call her a white supremacist because she's an anti-vaxxer? Holy shit. Like, okay, this is what's so funny. This is what's so fucking funny, dude. Oh my God. Like, I want to laugh until I literally die. Please take me off this this coil. Like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. I've been talking about for a while, like a year and a half ago, I was talking about how there's an unholy union between anti-vaxxers and chiropractors. Then it seemed like the Patriot movement was getting in on this. And now it's getting to the point where, like, some of the worst subsets of society are all banding together under this anti-vax banner, and then you got right-wing media outlets that are basically kind of trying to direct an entire political movement to be in line with it, which, again, I'm going to keep saying this. The people who suffer because of this are people on the right the most, and I am sorry that you guys have to deal with this, but I didn't do it. But, like, I was the one that was like, hey, you know, you're going to see, like, some hardcore fringe right-wing radical-ass people that are going to be standing next to anti-vaxxers and shit. But it was mostly kind of like a theory crafting thing. And it doesn't mean that all anti-vaxxers are white supremacists, but, like, they're just running with this shit. There's, like, actually, yes, that is what the left believes. He's trying to, like, make it an actual art. Oh, man. That's fucking weird. It's super weird.
An evil Republican and all of those things. Now, as far as Dana Bash, it's none of Dana Bash's, it's none of her business. Sorry. It's none of your business, Dana Bash, whether Winsome Sears is vaccinated.
She can ask if she wants to. I can ask if I want to. And people can say, I don't want to say. Like, I don't understand what the fucking problem is with that. Like, you can ask somebody.
She's completely correct. This has nothing to do with people's personal decisions related to vaccines. It has everything to do with government coercion. Do you not understand that, Dana Bash?
That is not, like, it was not, she wasn't even talking about the government. She was talking about at a fucking restaurant. At a restaurant. That doesn't have anything to do with the goddamn government. It's no different than showing your ID for alcohol. It's really not that serious. It's really not. Like, if I want to go in Oregon, you have to show ID to buy alcohol. You have to. It doesn't matter if you look like you're 80 years old. Now, most places don't really enforce it if you're obviously old enough, whatever. But by our laws in Oregon, you always have to show your ID when you buy alcohol. Always. Is that an infringement on fucking freedom? And if you don't do it, they can kick you out. Nightclubs, it's even more so. At bars, where you're not supposed to have anybody under 21, the OLCC will send people that are obviously 60 years old to bars, and if your doorman does not card them, they will give you a fine. That's just the rules that we all agree to. I don't think there's anything really different than that.
I understand that you, Dana Bash, and the rest of your employees and friends at CNN are a bunch of SEALs, right? So if the government tells you to do things, especially if it's a government you like, in the case of Joe Biden, then you'll gladly do it. I suspect, Dana Bash, that if Donald Trump was still president and demanding that everyone get vaccines, you'd be pushing against it because Donald Trump bad guy, Joe Biden good guy, very, very simple in your simple black and white world. But her answer is spectacular. She also addresses that some people have had adverse reactions. I know several people in my own life that have had it, and it simply is nobody's business what you do medically to yourself. Those are the people.
So Rubin is basically trying to make an argument that nobody should ever ask, and that somehow that's an infringement on your rights. No, it's just words. It's words. And it also isn't about the government. It's specifically about businesses asking about that. Now, are there going to be, like, is there technically some government mandates and shit like that? Yeah, but the overwhelming, like, conditions that we're seeing, this conversation that we're having, is specifically around these, like, restrictions and requirements being put on a state, county, town, or more specifically, and most commonly, business level. Simple as that.
People I'm interested in spotlighting. People who say, no, it's none of your business. You do whatever you want and stay out of my life, because that's the American spirit, and that's what we're going to push. Anyway, I'm going to show you 2 Fauci videos because I'm just over him. Just try to imagine any.
How over Fauci are you if you're going to show us some Fauci videos?
Anyone watching this is him on his, he does his Sunday press tour with his ridiculous softball questions and his answers that are completely meaningless at this point. So here's just 2 quick ones. And if you know anyone in your life that's still listening to this person, might I recommend a full frontal lobotomy? Fauci 1.
Wow.
We would hope, and this is something that we're looking at very carefully, that third shot with the mRNA not only boosts you way up, but increases the durability so that you will not necessarily need it every 6 months or a year.
Awesome. Based. I think that's great. That's fucking awesome. I can't wait to get my 3rd. Fuck yeah, dude.
We're hoping it pushes it out more. If it doesn't, and the data show we do need it more often, then we'll do it.
Oh, screw you. I mean, really,
Boo-hoo, I don't like that answer. What's wrong with the answer? I don't fucking understand. Oh, hey, Squidly Marie. Hi, Squidly. You walk into a restaurant and you want takeout, they take your order. If you want to sit down, they ask for your vaccine ID. It's a choice. Yeah, you can still eat the same food. But it's their choice of, like, hey, you want to sit down? We want to make sure that you're as safe as possible, and so it makes sure everybody else is safe as possible. You don't like that? Get the fuck out of here. That's fine. Who the fuck has a problem with that? We have a fucking global pandemic going on right now. The absolute fucking whiny baby bitch Karen-esque energy privilege shit of I should be able to sit anywhere I want in any business I want and shit and fart and come and piss and eat my food and blah, blah, blah. Fuck you. Fuck off. God damn, I just can't handle that fucking shit.
That, like, what else do I have to say to this guy? Now 6 months or a year and the boosters, it's gonna boost you a little more. So I guess the vaccines don't work, Fauci. I guess.
Okay, I don't know how in the fuck Rubin hasn't gotten terminated for anti-vaccine content at this point. Like this shit right here is fucking anti-vax content. It just is 100% anti-vaccine fucking content. Maybe they just don't work. I hate to point this out to Dave Rubin, but one of the reasons why the accepted and safe vaccine schedule for children has so many repeat visits that are staggered throughout a child's early life is because they're getting boosters. Yeah. Boosters. We've been doing this for decades. What the fuck, dude?
Yes, you're an anti-vaxxer, right? Because when people thought they were getting vaccinated, it was because they thought it was going to stop them from getting or transmitting COVID, which neither is true when it comes to these vaccines.
Yep, that right there. I don't know how the fuck this dude still has a goddamn YouTube channel. I don't understand. I do not understand.
And finally, more from this ridiculous buffoon.
I presume we have to be cautious during Thanksgiving. You talked about Christmas protection with those boosters, but quickly, if you will, Thanksgiving?
Well, if you're a booster, I mean, you see, if you're vaccinated, and hopefully you'll be boosted too, and your family is, you can enjoy a typical Thanksgiving meal, Thanksgiving holiday with your family. There's no reason not to do that. The thing we are concerned about is the people who are not vaccinated, because what they're doing is they're the major source of the dynamics of the infection in the community. And the higher the level of dynamics of infection, the more everyone is at risk. But if you're vaccinated,
He's right. He's right.
you look at the data, Martha, it's absolutely clear. The likelihood of getting infected, getting hospitalized, or dying, if you're vaccinated versus non-vaccinated, weighs very, very heavily in the protection of people who are vaccinated.
And Dave is just going to be like, that's not true.
Enough with this clown. Again, I'm only showing you this to completely mock him, like not so that you listen to him, but you shouldn't listen to me either, actually. You should listen to your own doctor and make some choices for yourself. But he's just the dynamics of the infection. You know what? I'm having people over for Thanksgiving, family members and friends. I actually don't know if they're all vaccinated.
And we're all going to tongue kiss and rub our cock tips together and make sure that we're coughing into each other's fruit punch. Fucking what, dude? Fuck, come on.
I don't care. If you believe the vaccinations work, then you should not care if someone else gets vaccinated. And if you think that this...
No. If you believe the vaccines work, then you should encourage everybody to get vaccinated. And, how like there's always going to be that argumentative fucking uncle or whatever at Thanksgiving dinner. Like, our new reality is going to be, like, they might be that obnoxious, unvaccinated uncle, but everybody else is vaccinated, and you just hope he isn't, some asshole who is feeling ill, and he ends up bringing COVID in the house, and then you get a couple of, like, breakthrough cases and shit. But it's so fucking dumb.
Ridiculous buffoon clown 2 years after 2 weeks to flatten the curve deserves your attention or your respect. I don't know what to say to you. I'm out of human words. I feel like Joe Biden being asked a basic question. I got nothing.
Jesus Christ. And of course, yeah. Blaze Media. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's trying to find a good pause. There we go. That's a good pause. I like that. That's a good one. I don't know. In summation, what else do I have to say about this? Dave Rubin's a fucking moron. But then you knew that.